Hi, this is Sharon McNall, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today we're going to be working with the Amazing You stamp set from the 2018 Salebration campaign. And let me bring in the stamp set right now. This is what it looks like. It's got this amazing detailed flower with these sun rays and some sentiments here. It is located on page, let's see, it's right here on page 16 of the Salebration brochure. It's here. You can team it up with a free item from Salebration with a $100 purchase, and you can get these Celebrate You Thinlit dies, which are pretty nice. I don't have those, so today I'll be using these Sunshine Wishes dies, and they come with some words: sunshine, hope, love, and congrats. And we're going to be using congrats. That's why you don't see it here. So let's get started creating this card. First, we'll need to bring in some scrap paper so we don't stamp on our desk, because we're going to be filling in that panel quite a bit. We're going to be using Night of Navy ink. And our first piece, I like to stamp all my flowers first. So we're going to stamp the front panel of the card, and this is cut 3 3/4 by 5. And I'll just take the stamp here, and I'm just going to ink it up. And I'm just going to stamp throughout the whole front of the card panel, alternating directions from the stamp, so I don't want the same image going the same way. And then we'll fill in at the end these little smaller areas with the edges of the stamp. So we'll just fill this up real quick, and I'm put one right about there. So now we're just going to fill in these small white areas here. I think the more detailed with this stamp set, the better. So I'm just going to use the leaves on that side, and we'll just turn this around here. And over here, I think I'll use the other leaf there. And for here, since I already have some leaves there, I'll use part of that flower. And on this side, we'll just add another leaf. And up here, I'm going to use that more detailed leaves, buds, or whatever it might be. Okay, so our panel is done. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take a piece of Whisper White scrap and just stamp down one image, because we're going to fussy cut this one out later. And we'll set that aside. Our next piece is a Whisper White, and this is for the inside panel. Let me show you the inside of this card, what it looks like. We use the Celebrate You, and I filled it in with the flowers. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I like to work in odd numbers. So we'll just stamp 3 larger flowers, again alternating the direction of the flower. And maybe one down here. And now again, we're going to fill in the areas here just to give it a little bit more detail. Okay, that looks good. Since we have our panel here, let's start stamp the sentiment. So we are going to stamp Celebrate right in the middle here. And then I'm going to stamp the word You, all in Night of Navy. So we're only using one color ink. All right, so that's the inside panel. And the last item we need to stamp is our envelope. So we'll stamp that up. I always stamp or emboss my envelopes. So again, I'm going to do 3 images here. Actually, I think I'll do the leaves up here. All right, so that looks really pretty. It ties everything together when you stamp your envelope. Okay, so let's, our next step is going to be just to kind of assemble some of this. And I got a little bit of ink on my hands here, so hopefully I won't transfer that over to the Whisper White. So let's just put the inside panel on our card base. So this is a piece of navy cardstock. It's cut your standard A2 card, 8.5 by 5.5, and scored at 4 1/4, which I've done ahead of time. So we'll just run our adhesive along the top, and we'll just insert that on the inside with 1/4 inch, on all 4 sides. Okay, so the next piece is a piece of smoky slate, and this is cut 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to take the piece that we just stamped, and we're going to layer it on top of the smoky slate. So adhesive on all 4 sides. Okay, so I'm gonna look for a flower that's a little bit down on the bottom left, because that's where we're going to pop up one of those flowers. So again, 1/4 inch on all 4 sides, and then we're going to attach this piece to our card front. And 1/4 inch on all 4 sides. Okay, so what I did next was we're going to create this image here. We did stamp it ahead of time, so I did fussy cut it out earlier, so I wouldn't kind of bore you with my fussy cutting, but you need to have a bone folder handy, and then what we're just going to do is we're going to break up the fibers on the paper just to get the petals to have some kind of bend to them. All right, so that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to add a dimensional to the back side of this. So I'll bring in my dimensionals. These are the regular size, and I'm just using the bits and pieces that are left over. I always use all of my dimensionals. No need to waste them when they'll work. So all right, so I'm gonna stack this on top of this flower here. So I've got to find the leaf here so it matches accordingly. So I'm just gonna put this on top, and I'm going to just press down nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Winkostella to create this light blue effect. It kind of looks like Marina Mist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Winkostella, and I'm going to work in the middle and get that little wet, and I'm going to just bring it out to the outer edge of the leaves. Just pulling that ink away from the center of the flower. And it adds in the glitter. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera. I'll bring it in closer once I'm done. So that looks pretty good. And I'll bring this up closer. Hopefully you can see it. I'm not sure if you can or not. But it looks pretty nice. I'm all glittered up. So what we'll do next is we're going to, let's let that dry, and we'll work on the vellum piece. So I've got a piece of vellum, and it's cut 3 3/4 by 1 inch. And on vellum, you usually can see your, you most definitely can see the adhesive. But for this card, it doesn't really matter because you're going to have the word congrats on top of it, so you will not really see the adhesive. So I'm just going to lay this up towards the top, and you can kind of see right here I have a little smudge mark. So I'm going to try to cover that up with the vellum. I'm just going to lay that across horizontally there, and just give it a nice press. So we have that done. So now let's go back to this flower here, and I used a leaf punch, and I punched out 3 leaves with using the Dazzling Diamonds glitter paper, and I'm going to bring in a glue dot, and we're just going to put those, we'll adhere them down. I just need 1 glue dot, press it on, and now I'm just going to stack up. Actually, I want my leaves more on this side. Again, I like to work in odd numbers. So I think it's a little bit more pleasing to the eye. I'm just going to stack them up, and we'll add 1 more. And I'll just put this one down here. You don't actually, you don't want it going over your card because then it won't fit into your envelope. So if you ever find that it's a little bit too longer, you can actually, let's do this, I'll show you. You can just cut off the stem there, and that way you have a little bit more room. You can push this right up in there. All right, so that's good and adhered down, and we'll just bend these up a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to add the congrats onto the front of the card, and I'll bring this in again. This I did use the Big Shot magnetic platform and 2 acrylic plates to die cut this out. So I'll bring in that right now with my die brush. Here it is, the thinlet, and I'm just going to take the die brush so it'll just poke out all those little pieces in the O, G, and the S, and the A. Alright, so there's all the little pieces. And I just use a cake pan, and the sponge comes with the die brush. So I've got all the pieces out, and let's get rid of the scrap paper here so we can see this a little bit better. So we're going to adhere this to the vellum. So I'm going to take my fine tip glue pen, and I'm just going to dab the back side of the congrats. You don't need a lot because this stuff is really strong adhesive, and you just get little taps along the letters. Maybe put a little bit more on the thicker letters. Okay, so now a little trick I'll show you. Let me get my envelope out of the way. Bring in the card again. How I press this down, because vellum, it needs a little bit more time to adhere. So I'm going to put this down, and this fits perfectly on the vellum at 3 3/4 by 1 inch. So now I've got this where I want it to be, and I'm going to bring in a block I got with paper pumpkin, and I'm just going to press this down and just move it over, and that way it will lay flat for you, and the little bit of pressure that you're adding will help this just to stay put and adhere to the vellum much quicker than if you were just to use your fingertips. So I find that very helpful using the block. So that actually it looks pretty good right now. And our next step is to add the 1/8 inch ribbon to the card, and I'm just going to tie a flat knot up by the congrats, and I think this is about 12 to maybe 12 inches long, and hopefully I can do this. It probably should be a little bit longer, maybe 13-14 inches, just so it's easier to handle, because I don't have a lot of room here to work. So 14 inches probably would be a little bit better than 12. I'm just going to pull one side. When you pull with just one side, it gives you that flat knot. So make sure it's tight, and that looks pretty good. So now you can just maneuver it around where you want it. I actually have it in a pretty good location. What I'm looking for is just the center of that C. So we'll just push it up just a little bit. All right, so we're going to bring in our glue dot again and our piercing tool. And I'm just going to add a glue dot to the back side of that knot. So what I did was I just rolled that glue dot on the piercing tool here, and I'm just going to place it underneath the knot, press the knot against the piercing tool and glue dot, and gently take the piercing tool out. So now your ribbon is going to stay in place. Our final touch to the ribbon is just to bring in your ribbon scissors and trim off the ends. All right, so that looks pretty good. Our final step is to add some jewels, the basic pearls, and I'm going to take the large pearl with my piercing tool. Hopefully can get one here, and I'm just going to add it to that flower that we are popping up. So there it is. There's your card using the Amazing You stamp set. I've seen lots of different cards with the free stamps that you can earn with the Salebration 2018, which runs until March 31st, this campaign here. So here's your little brochure. Here's your envelope. And here's your card that all matches together. So hopefully you liked my card today. And hopefully it was in focus. I'm learning how to do my YouTube videos and having a little bit of issues with focus. So hopefully my camera is focusing and you can see this card. But if you have any questions or if you're looking for a demonstrator, I'd love to earn your business. So please visit my website at inspiredbygraham.com. Thanks for watching.